Hi, I'm Alex from the Zscaler Customer Success Engineering team. In this series of short videos, we're taking a look at the baseline recommendations for configuring data protection policy inside Zscaler Internet Access. This is Part 7, Endpoint DLP. Endpoint DLP leverages the Zscaler Client Connector, with no other agent required. Once enabled, Zscaler Client Connector will scan the endpoint to detect sensitive data matching the configured DLP policy. This gives you visibility into sensitive data movement and protects sensitive data flows across multiple endpoint channels, including network shares, printers, removable drives, and personal cloud storage. As with your data at rest policies, this leverages existing DLP engines and dictionaries to build a policy. Let's take a closer look at how Endpoint DLP policy works. First, note that Endpoint DLP policy supports 4 channels: network shares, printers, removable storage, and personal cloud storage. The supported actions are allow, allowing and logging the activity; block, blocking and logging the activity; confirm, prompting the user to justify the activity to continue or to cancel it. In both cases, this is logged; and protect, which is only applicable for removable storage. The protect action will apply encryption only to specific files on the removable storage, which can be decrypted by members of an organization who are running Endpoint DLP on their device. Policy enforcement is built according to the evaluate all model. The most restrictive action with the highest order is applied. Exceptions are built as child rules to parent blocking rules, and are evaluated in rule order until first match. Other features include the ability to scan with or without content inspection, since scans are performed on files on the endpoint, as well as the ability to enable exemption mode, which temporarily disables blocking rules while maintaining logging. Let's take a look at an example endpoint DLP policy that is non-disruptive. Here we built a monitoring policy that only exists to detect and log sensitive data on endpoints. Since this is a monitoring policy, we've applied all rules to all users, groups, and departments, using either any to match all engines or select engines. In each case, we've built a rule to monitor a specific channel, as well as an exemption rule that in this case is designed specifically to test blocking for a test group. Our first pair of rules applies to the removable storage channel. Rule number 1 monitors removable storage for all users with as many engines as applicable, and an action allow in order to make sure that this policy does not block. By contrast, the exemption rule here applies to our test group and is set to block. The remaining policies are built according to the same model. The second pair of policies monitors printers, with an exemption rule limited to our admin test group set to block. The third pair monitors network shares, again with an exemption to block for the test group. And the fourth pair monitors personal cloud storage, with again an exemption to block for the test group. To contrast this, here's an example policy set to block with exemptions to allow files. Here we built rule number 1 to block the transfer of files containing sensitive data to removable storage. It applies to all users, with select engines based on whatever use cases you've got, as discussed in previous videos. The channel here is any removable storage and the action is block. The child exemption rule here under it allows specific users, groups, or departments to upload sensitive data using select engines to detect it to select approved DLP resources. Rules 2 and 2n do the same thing for printers, rules 3 and 3n for network shares, and rules 4 and 4n for personal cloud storage. To conclude, here are the actions you should take. First, you should enable data protection on endpoints in order to perform a data scan. This is done before policies are configured. Once Endpoint DLP is enabled on a device, all files will be scanned and evaluated by all configured engines to populate the Endpoint Data Scan report. This way, sensitive files can be detected and decisions can be made regarding policy. Once the data scan has been performed, you should investigate the Endpoint Data Scan report. The Endpoint Data Scan report allows administrators to learn how many endpoints contain files with sensitive information matching the DLP engines defined by your organization. The data scan report provides filtering capabilities to investigate users or specific types of data. This will give you visibility into the sensitive data on your endpoints and any incidents involving that sensitive data. These findings simplify policy creation and fine-tuning. Next, you should configure and tune a baseline policy. It is recommended to start out with a non-disruptive monitoring policy that you can then tune and later move to a block policy. Creating this monitoring policy for Endpoint DLP is part of building a comprehensive data protection approach that protects sensitive data exfiltration across all channels. The next step is enabling end-user notifications. This requires enabling the Zscaler notification framework under the app profile, and then enabling the Show End User Notification toggle when creating an endpoint DLP policy. This will greatly improve end user experience with DLP policy by clearly communicating to your users when they violate policy. This also allows the ability to configure the confirm action, which allows users to provide justifications for why they're performing action that's triggered a DLP policy. Finally, after results have been surfaced by your monitoring policy, you should build a block policy based on the findings from your monitoring policy. You can use the endpoint data scan to create a corporate device list of printers, storages, and shares, applying hierarchical policies to exempt corporate devices, minimizing false positives. This will allow you to block the upload of files containing sensitive data to everything except for approved resources, which will minimize the risk of data exfiltration. This will grant you full control of the devices that can be connected to your corporate endpoints. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching.